I recognize the greatness that I'm witnessing. They're the greatest shooters that I've ever seen. But what I'm going to do is give the proper deference and respect to the old guard, and I'm going to assume that what we're doing is taking those guys and having those guys being able to play the style of ball that they played back in the day. And of course, if you're the Los Angeles Lakers, which would be my team, and I'm talking about a team with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Michael Cooper, James Worthy, Byron Scott, Michael Thompson, Kurt Rambis, and the crew, what I'm saying to you is, who's guarding Kareem? Who's really dictating pace in this series? Are you trying to tell me that somebody is going to dictate pace better than Irvin Magic Johnson? Hell no. It will not happen. You got to guard Kareem. You got to guard Magic Johnson with his little baby hook in the lane. You've got to guard James Worthy, particularly on the baseline. You're going to tell me that Jaja Pajulia or JaVale McGee is going to go up against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? It's not going to happen. So let me be very, very clear. The Golden State Warriors with Steph and Clay and now Kevin Durant, great, great shooters. But back in the day, you could get a little bit physical with them. You understand? You're not going to sit up there and get teed up for having bad breath or passing gas. You actually have to play basketball, and you're going to be allowed to play. And there's no way on earth that this team would dictate pace against that Los Angeles Lakers squad. I'm not hearing it. I'm not trying to entertain it. There is no way, even with a 16-0 record, that I'm giving them that edge. The NBA is who has facilitated the Golden State Warriors being what they are, because the game is soft as cottonelle tissue.
Well, you're about to. Well, you're about to hear it. You're about to hear it. You're about to entertain it, because I'm going to tell you, if the Golden State Warriors win tonight and go 16-0 to win this championship, they are the greatest team of all time. Now, I understand very well. I see the eye roll. I heard something behind me. I couldn't quite tell what it was, but I heard something. So if you don't like the argument I make, I'm going to attribute it to both of you, okay? This is how it works. We're talking about a team that beats what some have said is the greatest player on the planet. Not just beat him, footnote Max Kellerman, but sweep him. That's what they have done. Second, who would be on their way to a three-peat, but for one little Draymond Green suspension, footnote Stephen A. Smith, on the way to their third in a row. That's what they would have done. And finally, this would be a team that won 73 games and added, if not the best player on the planet, the second best player on the planet, footnote Max Kellerman. This is what these Golden State Warriors have done. Won a championship by beating the best possible opponent on the planet. I give both of your arguments, bring them in,
okay.
Use them for mine.
Here we go.
16-0 best ever.
Here we go. You're both wrong. These are all great teams. We're splitting hairs here. The Lakers team was great. This Warriors team is great. The answer is clearly, however, the 95-96 Chicago Bulls. Now, let me explain something to you. That Bulls team that won 72 games, that's like if last year's Warriors team that won 73 had Durant and then swept in the postseason. Not only did they win 72 in the regular season, but they faced much stiffer competition than either that Lakers team, in fact, or certainly this Warriors team in the postseason. The first time the Warriors came up against a real team that was more or less at full strength, they were down 23 points, and only for a Kawhi injury were they able to come back and win that game. Let me just tell you something about the 72-win Bulls team. Swept the Hardaway Morning Heat. 5 games against the Knicks. The only loss was in overtime to an excellent Knicks team at the Garden. Jordan dropped 46 that night, by the way. Swept the Orlando Magic with Shaq and Penny, who were a 60-win team and had been to the finals the previous season. And then in the finals, faced a 64-win Sonics team, which I hate to tell you, Cleveland, was significantly better than this Cavs team. That Sonics team, on the way to the finals, swept the twice defending champion Rockets on the way to the finals. Got by a great prime Utah team with Stockton and Malone and Hornacek and a great coach. We're a great team, not only offensively, but we're led by the Defensive Player of the Year, Gary Payton, 64-win team. They took care of them in the finals. So they had the best competition, 2 60-win teams on the way. They had the greatest regular season. Oh, and by the way, they had Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time, Scottie Pippen, a top 50 player, and Dennis Rodman, maybe the greatest defensive player of all time, certainly since Bill Russell. That was the answer to the greatest team of all time. The spoken.
I know you like
let's
analytics.
wake Stephen A. up.
First of all, I'm annoyed that people actually try to pretend to know as much basketball as me. It's very disgusting. I mean, it just annoys me sometimes, but that's neither here nor there. Here's the deal. You know, when we bring up those 90s Chicago Bulls, first of all, we're blowing up the Orlando Magic. They got swept in the finals by Hakeem Olajuwon with Kenny Smith, Robert Horry, and Mario Elie and the crew. They got swept, all right? Then they came back, and they might have made some noise against the Bulls if Nick Anderson hadn't wet the bed at the free throw line and his career never covered from it. Those are details you leave out. That's number one. Listen, I heard what you said. The bottom line is this. You talk about Robin, as great as he was, liability at the free throw line. That would have been a huge problem. Let's also remember this as well. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, we want to gloss over this. 19-time All-Star, 6-time league MVP, 6-time champion, only unstoppable move in the history of the sport. Magic Johnson, arguably the greatest point guard to have ever played. James Worthy, one of the elite small forwards in the history of basketball. And who did they beat? Who did they beat? They beat the bad boy Pistons. I'm sorry, Isaiah, Newbars, Vinnie Johnson, you understand? Rodman, Sally, and Bill Lambert, Mahorn, and the group. What about Boston? Bird, Parrish, McHale, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge. The hell are y'all talking about?
They didn't beat them in the finals in the same season?
No, I'm not saying this. I didn't say the same season.
That's your
the
boy.
Lakers, those Laker teams.
Well, that's
those
a great
Laker
dynasty.
teams. They're talking
right.
basketball. Fall back.
Are we talking dynasties? Are we talking dynasties?
I mean, come
Jordan
on.
went
That's
6
nonsense.
What is
Guys, we got to agree to disagree. Will is alone on an island that this is the greatest team ever if they go 16-0.
Will's a puppy when it comes to basketball, and he knows it.
Lord help me.
Stop it.